In this video, you will definitely see plenty of photos and neighborhood clips of Centex Homes. All right, that's a given, but that's not the real thing you need to be focused on. All right, the real story is buried in the numbers and the details that most people just gloss over. All right, but we're not gonna make that mistake. So let's dig into Centex Homes and figure out if they're really a builder you can count on. Well, first off, they've been around a long time, all right? Since 1950, actually. All right, that's more than 70 years of home building under their belt, which automatically tells you they're not some overnight startup hoping to figure it out as they go, all right? They're owned by Pulte Group, which is a huge name in the housing world as well. Now, if you're someone who likes to look at the numbers, all right, because let's be honest, we all should, this one is worth paying attention to. Pulte Group ranked number 3 on the Builder 100 list with 31,219 closings and over 17 million in gross revenue in 2024 alone. So obviously not dealing with small time here, okay? These are national players. And Centex, being part of that, benefits from that level of financial security. Centex is active in 12 states from California to Tennessee to Florida and of course Texas. So if you're wondering, are they going to disappear in a few years? The answer is a strong no, okay? They're well established and they're well funded. Here's the deal when it comes to builder, longevity, and your risk as a buyer. You want to know the builder's going to be there if something goes wrong with the home after closing. Like, you want to know that your warranty will mean something. And Centex, backed by the Pulte Group machine, it'll give you that peace of mind, okay? So when it comes to questions like, will they be around in 5 years? Or what happens if something breaks after I move in? This builder checks all the right boxes, okay? Strong track record, solid financials, and a big old national footprint, okay? So that's an easy A+ for staying power. If you were just casually driving down the street in a Centex neighborhood, here's what you'd probably notice first. The homes are pleasant enough to look at, but you're not gonna see a ton of exterior variety from one house to the next, okay? They definitely lean on a more uniform design language. I mean, it's attractive, but it's just not like wildly creative or diverse in style. For example, you might see something like this home, okay? It features a gabled roof, covered front porch, and decorative shutters on the upper windows. Next, you'll find a mix of stone and siding on the exterior, multiple gables, and a front entry with a pergola-style overhang. Then you might see a single-story home with decorative brick, a hip roof, and a wide front porch with columns. Next, you'll see a 2-story home with a brick exterior, shutters, multiple gabled roof lines, and a recessed front entry. You might even come across one with board and batten siding, a gabled roof, and decorative arches at the front porch. This home has a clean, symmetrical design with a hipped roof, brick exterior, and a centered covered entry supported by 2 square columns. One thing Centex does pretty well is offer a decent mix of 1- and 2-story homes across their communities. So you'll have some variety in scale. Most of the homes have 2-car garages, and while you might find a tandem or extended option in some communities, it is not something you're going to see a lot of. Overall, I think their designs are traditional and solid. I mean, they're appealing, but there's nothing here that's really going to take your breath away. So I would give them a grade of a B. But what if you wanted to build from the ground up? Okay, what would that look like? So let's talk about customization. And there's a lot to cover here because it comes in 4 main steps. First off, when you're going to build, right, you got to decide on a floor plan. Then you decide on structural changes, then design options, and then lot selection. First off, Centex has different collections of floor plans that vary from community to community. All right, in the Dallas area specifically, you'll usually see somewhere between 7 to 19 floor plan choices per neighborhood. So that's actually a solid range. The layouts themselves lean more practical than flashy, right? Like we've been saying, they're clearly designed to appeal to first-time buyers or people who are laser focused on functionality and value. Now that you've picked out a floor plan, the next thing you'll want to do is think about how you can customize it. So let's talk about structural customization. On most of their individual floor plan pages, Centex offers an interactive floor plan tool, and it's actually kind of fun to use. Like, you can toggle different layout options, like turning a bedroom into a study, adding a covered patio, or shifting the entryway layout. In some plans, you might be able to swap a flex room for an office, add an optional fireplace, or convert a pantry into a wine nook. They even offer upgrades like garden tubs in the primary bath or a larger shower option. Some changes are more structural than others. Moderate structural changes, like taking closet space and giving it to the bathroom, do show up in some plans too. Like, you might also find options to enlarge the patio using the covered patio toggle. But here's where the line gets drawn, all right? Once you start looking for more significant changes, like adding a full extra room or upgrading to a 3-car garage, you're probably not going to find those online. Like, Centex doesn't advertise full-on custom architectural services either. So bringing in your own floor plan or doing like a serious reconfiguration, all right, that is not going to be part of the package. There's no master list of structural options available, and most of what's offered depends on the individual plan and community. Like, many options might not even be available on the same plan depending on the community it's in. Like these floor plans, for example, they don't have the same range of options in different communities they're offered in. You want a bigger garage? Okay, you'd have to hunt down a specific community or floor plan that happens to allow it. On the design side, things get a little more fun. Centex offers smart home add-ons and design flexibility through their design preview tool, which lets you visualize how your choices will actually look in a modeled space. You can click through choices for things like flooring, cabinetry, room finishes, and exterior palettes. They also offer support from design consultants and field managers, which is helpful, though they're not going to be set up to handle anything beyond moderate changes. So if you're dreaming big, okay, you're gonna hit limits pretty fast. When it comes to lot size, okay, right, we're talking about the dirt, what you're actually gonna put the house on. You can filter for lot placement using the home site map, but there's no straightforward list of lot dimensions. Like, you'll get a visual idea, but not much hard data. Centex deserves credit for offering user-friendly tools and some nice surface level flexibility, but their customization options are pretty limited. So overall, I would give this a C+. Now let's break down Centex's warranty coverage, and spoiler alert, it is solid. All right, they start with the basics, a 1-year warranty that covers materials and workmanship inside the home. Okay, so that means your finishes, all right, paint, trim, interior doors, windows, and even flooring. Okay, they're all under protection for that first year. It's essentially there to cover anything cosmetic or finish related that wasn't quite right from the beginning. Then there's the 2-year warranty, which takes care of your mechanical systems. Okay, so think, plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. These are the parts of your home that you really need to be working correctly. So you've got 2 full years of coverage, so that's pretty reassuring. Now, here's where things start to stand out. Centex includes a 5-year warranty that covers water intrusion and internal leaks. Like, most builders stop at 2 years for anything moisture related. So the fact that Centex goes 5 full years on this, that is a big plus. Water damage, I mean, if you think about it, that can lead to costly repairs down the line. So this extra layer of protection, okay, it definitely adds value. And then finally, they offer the 10-year limited structural warranty. So this one is going to protect the core of your home, all right? Things like foundation, load-bearing walls, beams, rafters, roof sheathing, subfloor. If anything goes wrong in a major way structurally within that first decade, you've got a safety net in place. Overall, Centex is offering what's commonly known as the 1-2-10 warranty, but that additional 5-year water intrusion coverage is above and beyond. I mean, not many other builders, especially in this price point, are going to offer that. So for when it comes to warranties, I'm giving them an A+. If you fall in love with a particular Centex floor plan, the next question becomes, how many different places will you actually find it? Centex currently has about 6 active communities in the Dallas area and a total of 21 across all of Texas. So if you're in DFW and you're attached to a specific layout, your options might be a little limited. Most of their DFW communities are located to the north. We're talking places like, Pilot Point, Hazlet, Denton. You will also find them east in Forney, some in Dallas, and then west in Fort Worth. But here's the catch. North Dallas is the only direction with more than one community. So if you're looking elsewhere in the Metroplex, choices are thinner. So honestly, I would give them a B- when it comes to choices for locations. Okay, so now that we know how many locations, let's talk about volume. How many homes can you find in those locations? Well, right now Centex has 159 quick move-in homes listed on their website. That's a total number of homes available across all of their DFW communities that you could buy today and move into like relatively soon. It's a decent selection. but it's not exactly overwhelming, okay? And this is important, right? Because many times you will find a home floor plan that you absolutely love in a community that you don't. Like maybe the schools aren't a good fit, like maybe the commute's too long, or the general feel of the neighborhood, all right, just doesn't click. And in that moment, the big question becomes, what are the odds you'll find that same home in a different community? Well, that's where volume matters. All right, a builder with hundreds and hundreds of homes scattered all over the metro is more likely to have your favorite plan in multiple neighborhoods. A builder with fewer homes, kind of like Centex, they're not going to give you that kind of flexibility. So 159 homes, it's not bad. I would say it's kind of middle of the road, like not really high enough to suggest you're going to have a ton of options if you want to find the same floor plan in another community. Overall, I would give Centex a C when it comes to volume. It's enough to give you some flexibility, but not so many that you can count on finding your perfect plan in every corner of the Metroplex. Now let's talk about their prices for just a minute. Centex's pricing is definitely geared toward value-conscious buyers, all right? Their lowest priced floor plan starts around $296,000, while their highest base price is about $428,000. So that is a pretty tight spread, only about $130,000 difference from bottom to top. So who's the target buyer here? Well, you're likely looking at first-time buyers, young families, or anyone who wants to get into a new home without stretching into mid-range or luxury pricing territory. I mean, at the lower end, under $300,000, like that would be considered affordable for a metro area like Dallas-Fort Worth, where new construction, I mean, most of the time is gonna start in at least the mid threes or even higher. Even on Centex's upper end, like let's say between $350,000 and $440,000, you are still well within reach for middle income households. So if you're a buyer who values practicality, reliability, right, new construction peace of mind, without the bells and whistles of a luxury product, Centex could be a good fit. All right, let's get a little more specific. The community with the lowest starting price is Mobberly Farms, where homes start at $296,000. Now on the flip side, Townsend Green has the highest starting base at around $348,000. Of course, your final price is going to shift, based on upgrades, exterior elevations, design features, that kind of thing. But their base prices still stay within a really narrow band. And that narrowness is key, okay? It does reflect a focus on accessible housing, but it also means Centex is not trying to be everything to everyone. All right, they are not offering massive range or luxury flexibility. This is more about staying in their lane and delivering a reasonably good product inside it. From a pricing perspective alone, all right, with only about $150,000 between the floor and the ceiling, I would give them a D. And it's not because the homes aren't a decent value, okay? They are. But if you're hoping for a wide spectrum of options, all right, this builder keeps it pretty tight. Centex Homes has some interesting community ratings worth talking about. Their highest rated community is Arbordale, which holds a solid 4.8 out of 5. Based on 17 reviews. Now on the flip side, their lowest rated community is Elizabeth Creek, sitting at a 4.0 rating with 34 reviews. Now interestingly, a lot of the lower reviews weren't really about the homes themselves. A lot of them were about the HOA. Like in one community alone, there were like 3 separate comments specifically complaining about the homeowners association. So it seems like HOA issues might be more common than actual build quality concerns. Overall, there weren't many reviews about the construction quality of the homes themselves, which is what you really want to look at before buying a home. However, there was one 2-star review by one homeowner from the Arbordale community. They mentioned that while the house looked great at first glance, there were a ton of problems left from poor workmanship. Things like paint splattered on the floors, carpet stains, misaligned doors, glue on the shower doors, crooked cabinet handles, even a major safety issue with a stove that wasn't properly installed. They felt like they were stuck fixing a bunch of things that should have been right in the first place. Especially for a brand new home. There were also multiple good reviews about the home buying process as well as the homes themselves. Like one positive review came from a buyer in the same community who raved about the exceptional customer service they received from the Centex sales rep, who, they said was knowledgeable, patient, and supportive throughout the entire process, even working seamlessly with the buyer's own realtor. The review also praised Miguel from the construction team, who led multiple walkthroughs and personally addressed every concern before and after closing. Altogether, this homeowner said Centex exceeded expectations and made her dream of home ownership a reality. So it's mostly positive, but with some clear areas that could use improvement, especially around community amenities and HOA management. Looking at the big picture, 60% of Centex reviews are 4.5 stars or higher, while 40% fall below 4.5. With only 5 total community reviews counted here, more than half being 4.5 or higher, that gives Centex an overall grade in my book of about a B+. Now, like I mentioned before, Centex Homes is actually owned by Pulte, and they use the same contract forms as Pulte does. Now, one thing that really bothers me about that contract form is their policy on showing them to you. Like, you have to put money down before they even let you see the contract. Now, personally, I am a big believer that you should always get to review the contract fully before handing over any money. So that part definitely feels off to me. Another thing to watch out for with Centex is their handling of tax prorations. They make all prorations final, no matter if the property taxes are accurate or not. And that means you don't have any wiggle room or chance to dispute the amounts if the proration comes out wrong. So, you definitely run a risk of that causing major headaches down the line. Also, Centex doesn't offer any appraisal protection. So if the appraisal comes in lower than expected and you're using a conventional loan, you're going to be on the hook. Okay, you will not be protected in that situation. Now, to top it all off, Centex openly tells you that they're going to share your personal information with third parties. And I'm pretty sure that's something a lot of buyers are not going to be comfortable with. Putting all this together, their contract and their buyer policies leave a lot to be desired. So because of those issues, okay, I would give Centex a grade of D. One thing I've noticed about Centex and the sales we've closed is with their price point being as narrow as it is, okay, you can get a pretty large home for a low price. Like if you have a growing family, for example, but you're on a smaller budget, all right, this is where you can get a larger new construction home. But expect it to be super low finish out, all right? We're talking no windowsills, just drywall, okay? No cabinet drawers in the bathrooms, like just a basic drop-in vanity with no storage space, very low grade carpet. All right, still, that fills a need, all right? If it is all about the square footage for you at a lower price point, all right, Centex offers that. So if you thought buying a new home was all sunshine and open houses, okay, Centex just gave us a reality check. But hey, that's why we dig into the details, all right? So you don't have to learn the hard way. Now, if you found this deep dive helpful, we have a whole playlist of builder reviews waiting for you right here. Go check it out, and I'll see you there.